I'll get this right by the end.
There you go.
So this summer series, we're going to have 4 messages, and they're all sort of going to be elaborating on the same topic, okay? And the series is going to be called Finding the Spirit in Your Life, Finding God in Your Life, okay? And we're going to talk about it at each of these summer outdoor services. If you're like me, and somebody says, today we're going to talk about finding the Spirit, today we're going to be talking about how to commune with the Spirit, right? How to be one with the Spirit. I'm always like, oh boy, like this is going to be like Alice in Wonderland. Like how far down the rabbit hole are we going to go? And if I get out on the other side of the rabbit hole, am I going to be wearing a tie-dye shirt and doing kumbaya, right? And like hugging a tree, and is it going to look like a Woodstock revival meeting? All right? It's not going to be anything like that, okay? I promise you, this is very practical, down-to-earth, how to find God in your life, how to be with the Spirit here on earth, okay? We as Christians should take time to focus on this, all right? Because the mystical is important to our lives here on earth, okay? This ability to find the Spirit in our life. As a Christian, you believe in life after death. Okay, so that means that you believe this spirit's going to leave this physical body and go somewhere, some dimension, right, to the kingdom of heaven. That's where it's going. And you believe that Jesus was resurrected from the dead, okay, and came back and walked on earth. And you believe in angels, that the spirit world, spiritual beings can come back and be here and interact with us. And we also, as Christians, we believe in the power of prayer. And we believe that we can actually have the spirit world intercede on our behalf. So taking time to talk about this and spread this out over 4 different messages about finding the Spirit in our life is important. All right? I'm going to start with a story. I love stories. Okay? So this is a personal story about me. And it's going to relate to finding the Spirit. And it's a deer hunting story. Now, some of you got really excited. You're like, yes, a deer hunting story. You're like, I love deer hunting story. And the other half of you are like, really? It's June. Hunting season isn't for another 3 months. I can see Linda Sue, right? She's like, really? Like we had to have a deer hunting story in church? She's like, I don't want to hear the deer hunting stories till October, okay? Just listen. I am not a deer hunter, okay? I'm not even a fisherman, all right? I missed that developmental step along the way, all right? But I have great respect for outdoorsmen. I'm even known to watch hunting shows from time to time because I find them very interesting, okay? But like all men, and I'm speaking to the guys in the congregation right now, like all men, at some point in your life, you feel this primal caveman-like urge that says, I got to go out and kill something on 4 legs and drag it back to the village to feed the people. All men feel this way at some point in their life, okay? And I felt that urge at age 30. I just got out of the military, and I came home here to Chancellor Township, and I looked out the house, out of the house every morning. There'd be like 15 to 20 deer in this 5-acre woodlot behind the house. And I felt the call of the wild. I was like, I'm going for those deer, okay? I felt the urge. I wanted to pound my chest, put war paint on, and go out and get those things, okay? All right? So August comes around, and keep in mind, guys, I don't know how to skin a deer. I don't even know what you do with the deer after you shoot it, but I wanted the deer. Okay, August comes around, I go down to this place called the Broke General Store, and I bought a real PA hunting license. I was so proud of myself. And I was convinced I was going to get so many deer, because there were these 15 deer just standing in this woodlot. I actually applied for the extra tags, all right? So I had a pile of tags ready to go, because I was going to get all these deer. Okay, I did not participate in archery season, because I can't figure out how to operate the crossbow. All right, so I waited till rifle season, and the first day of rifle season, I went and I put my Elmer Fudd outfit on, all right? Put my orange on. I got a bolt action 308, and I loaded that thing up, right? And I walk out the house to the edge of the woodlot. I just walked to the edge. No deer blind, no hunting stand. That's how bad a hunter I am, okay? And I got in position, right? And I'm leveling in, and I'm like, all right, bring on the deer. Single file, please. File in front of the muzzle, all right? So I could just broadside, so I could just nail you, right? And drop you right there, okay? I got plenty of tags. And I look around, and I realize there's not one single deer in that 5-acre woodlot, all right? Not one. There wasn't even a living thing to be seen. Not a squirrel or a chipmunk or a possum, nothing. And I'm like, I watched all these deer all summer long, okay, just standing there. Where did they go? All right? It gets better, and I start hearing gunshots, like all across the valleys and the hills, and I'm thinking there, I'm like standing like this, and I'm like, all these other people are getting deer. Why am I getting, now this is my first hunt. I'm here to become a real Chanceford Township man, and like this is my one chance in life, and I can't even get a deer. There's 15-year-olds out there getting deer right now. Like, what am I doing wrong, okay? So I walk home, I'm rather angry, I throw the gun in the gun safe, and I walk down the hill. My neighbor is Carl Grove, perhaps you guys know the Groves. Carl hunts, and I walk in the car, I'm like, listen, Carl, I said, all summer long I watched these deer in this woodlot, and I just went hunting for the first time in my life, and I could not find one deer. I said, everybody tells me there's deer everywhere in your county. He's like, I said, but they're not there in that woodlot. And Carl looks at me and he cocks his head, he's like, well, Ross, you do realize the deer move. He said, did you think they were just going to stand there in the 5-acre woodlot and wait for you to walk up and shoot them? And I kind of like smiled real nervous, like, but I didn't have the courage to tell him, yeah, I really did. I thought they would just stand there for the summer and wait until December, right, or November, for me to walk out and shoot them. Right? Well, you're like, I really did think that. He's like, well, Russ, you understand, this is a hunt. It's a skill. You actually have to go out and you have to track the deer. You got to find the deer, right? You got to find how they move. You got to watch their behavior and watch how they move around the area, okay? And you got to study this. And then you got to get set up. He's like, there's a journey involved in order to find the deer and hunt it. He's like, you got to stalk it. You have to hunt it. You have to find it. You have to go on a journey. This is why deer hunting applies to finding the Spirit in your life, because all of us are going to have to go on a journey to find God, okay? You often hear, God is everywhere. How often have we heard that phrase, right? God is everywhere, okay? But we also hear deer everywhere, right? Okay? Now, we have concept of God is everywhere, but let's be honest here. There's times in our lives where God seems like he's right here next to us. And he's talking right in our ear. We can really loud and clear. But there's other times in your life where God seems really far away. You can still hear him, but it's like a cell phone with bad reception. It's kind of indistinct. You're having to strain to hear him, right? And the next day he might seem like he's over here, a little closer, but still not really close. Right? Sometimes he's real close to you, and other times, and it changes throughout your life. Everybody faces this in their faith walk. Sometimes God seems close, and sometimes he seems really far away, okay? Why is that, okay? Well, I want you guys, because we're out here in this world right now, okay, to realize the Spirit moves, just like the deer move, okay? Just like the deer are moving around us, and we say, well, there's deer everywhere in your county. Well, the Spirit's the same way. It's constantly moving. Now that's, when you say, well, the Spirit moves, God moves, that's a way to get a fight going in Sunday school. All right? Because people say, whoa, 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 whoa. No. God is always there. Okay? Think about this, guys. And this is why it's great to do this outside. I want you guys to look up right now and not look at the human-made structures, but look at what God built. All right? You got the wind in the trees, okay? But I want you to think about the tree. It looks like it's motionless, but that tree right now is actually changing. It's actively growing, okay? And then you look at the sky and you see the clouds and the sun. And I want you to think about this. The earth is right now spinning on an axis, right? That causes the cycles of day and night. And that's perpetual motion. And not only that, the earth, while it's spinning on its axis, is actually on an elliptical orbit around the sun. This causes the cycle of the seasons. Winter to spring to summer to fall. Perpetual motion. The world that God created is in perpetual motion. It never stops moving. And let's go even deeper. Let's look down at the grass, which is also constantly growing. And underneath the grass, you have dirt, which is also, as Randy I'm sure will tell you, it's constantly shifting, right? Dirt moves. And underneath the dirt, if we went even farther down, there's tectonic plates that are actually moving right now beneath our feet. And sometimes when they collide, they cause earthquakes, right? Everything in nature and the universe is in constant motion, constantly changing. Everything God ever touched, ever created is in movement, okay? Let's even think of the atom, which is the basic building block of all matter. It's moving. It's in constant motion, all right? Nothing is static that God ever created. Not even God. All right? There's only one living creature on this planet that believes that we can make things still and motionless and never move. And that's us. Humans. All right? Humans, we love to do this, okay? We think we can make the earth still, okay? So what we do, we go out there and we build these buildings, right? And we build this thing called a house. And we say, I built it to last, okay? And one of the first things you put in your house is a recliner, all right? And you put that recliner in the living room. It's one of the first things that goes in the door. You sit down and you pull the little lever and your feet go up and you're like, I'm done for the day. I'm not moving. I'm staying still, right? I built this house. I don't got to do anything else now, right? And then you move in another recliner and you put it right next to you. You know what we say? God, come on down. Why don't you sit in this recliner right next to me? You don't got to do anything anymore. You just stay right next to me for the rest of my life, right? And we want to stay still. We want to stay static. No. The Spirit is in constant motion, right? And you know this because that's why when you reach out sometimes to God and he seems kind of far away, right? What's that asking us to do? When he's not right next to us, when he seems far away, he's compelling us to do what? Follow him, to go to him. And somebody's going to say, well, if God's on the move, how do I find him? You find him on the journey. He's asking you to follow him. Did you ever hear the term Spirit-led? Right? The Spirit leads you. When God seems distant, that's an invitation to you to get up and I got to go do something. I'm going on a journey. God's like a magnet, and he's pulling you towards him constantly in your life. And you should always want him to be right next to you. If he's over there, you want to move and be next to him. And if he's over there, I want to move and be next to him there. And if he's up there, I'm going there. I'm constantly following God. He's a magnet that is pulling me to him. And I'm always going on a journey. Sometimes it's a physical journey. You actually have to get up and move. And other times it's a mental journey. Maybe you're not thinking about things in the right way. Maybe you got to change the way you look at things. Okay, and maybe it's an emotional journey. Maybe you're going to have to close the door on a certain situation in your life in order to open a new opportunity. They're all journeys. And God is constantly calling you towards him. He's the magnet, and he's pulling you towards this. You guys already do this in your real life. If you have a dog or you have young kids, you leave them out to go play, right? Like in the morning, I let Jake the dog out to go play, all right? Now, if I step out after I get the coffee and get done breakfast, and I step out and I call for Jake, I'm like, hey, Jake, and he doesn't come running, what do you do instantly when the dog doesn't come running for you? You go find the dog, right? Because you're like, I got to always be close to the dog, okay? It's the same thing with God. If I'm calling God, I'm like, you remember the Verizon commercial where the guy would walk around, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Right? And he would move every time he couldn't hear somebody. We're just like that with God. If we say, hey, God, can you hear me? And it seems like really far away and it's hard to hear, then we get up and we go, right? We do whatever, we think about, okay, what do I need to change in my life? How can I put him so he's right here next to me and I can hear him? Remember, he's always a magnet. He's always pulling you towards him. Think about Scripture. Think about every person you've ever met in the Old Testament. Abraham and Isaac, Moses, Gideon, Esther, David. They're all on journeys. The Bible is a big journey story. Everybody is on a journey to God. Right? God calls them and they go. Moses has to go where? To hear God. The top of a mountain. The poor guy had to climb a mountain to hear God in his life. Then he had to walk all the way back down off the mountain to tell us. Okay, now hopefully you all don't have to climb a mountain, all right? But that shows us that everybody in human existence has had to go on a journey to find the Spirit. All right, that's how you find it, okay? Just like the deer hunt, you have to hunt it. You have to track it. You have to stalk the Spirit in your life, okay? It's an activity. It's an action that you have to constantly be doing. This journey can be uncomfortable because it's not going to look like any journey you've ever been on in your life, all right? Now, I have a visual aid, okay, and I'm going to pick volunteers. We're going with Jay because he's got a great look. He's like, I'm not sure about Jay. Come on up here, and we're going to grab Jim, all right?
Come on, Jay, come on.
Now, we're going to talk about what this journey looks like. Now, As humans, we like straight lines. Would you stand over there? And this is caution tape. It has no significance other than it's the only tape I could find in the barn. Would you walk over there? People are going to think we have a crime scene going on. That's okay. If they show up, they count as a new member. I'm not afraid. I'm not above using cheap tricks to get people in here. All right? Okay, so this is a straight line, and humans love straight lines. And so if I asked any of you to describe your life journey, most of you are going to describe it using a straight line concept. Okay? So you'd say, okay, well, over here's birth, childhood. Right around here is like early adulthood, so sort of all of us do different things, right? Some of us go get a job, some of us get married, right? Build a house, start a family, okay? And then at the end here, right about here is death, and then here's the kingdom of heaven. And most of us would describe our life using a straight line, okay? Because it's very comforting. And there's a sequential progression to this. Step 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. Linear progression. And we like that, okay? Now your spiritual journey, all right, Jay, if you'll just go up there, all right, Tim, Jim, you're gonna hold on. All right, now I'm gonna come out in the congregation here, and you guys if you wanna go back to your, I'm sorry. You're gonna be part of this here shortly. You just don't know what's coming. All right, you guys are gonna have to participate in this. All right, your spiritual journey is not gonna follow a straight line. So it might start out with a straight line, then we're gonna go under. All right, Alice, you're gonna have to hold this angle. All right, now Alice, hang on. All right, then it's going to go back. All right, we're going to have you hold it. All right, we're going to go over. Yep, Winda Sue, you're participating. There we go. All right, and Peggy, sometimes we start going in circles. All right, that's okay. Hang on. All right, now, oh, and we go in more circles, round and around Jay. Hang on. All right, now we're going over here. All right, you guys get to hold it. Oh, we're going to double back. All right, Jay, around in more circles. All right. Yeah, your white ties. That's exactly right. This makes sense. All right, and then back here, we got Rodney. Rodney's going to hold on. We're going to go around the Hefners and underneath. Right. And Al's going to hold on here. All right. And when you look at this, you look back at this journey you're on, this spiritual journey, like, this is a mess. Right, this makes no sense. It's not going in a straight line. I went up and down. I went 6 steps forward and then took 10 steps backward. I went in circles. Right, I have no clue what's going on. And it's uncomfortable. But guys, this is a spiritual journey to God. This is what it looks like. And it can be very uncomfortable to look at this and say, is this normal? Is this how it's supposed to look? And if you go and ask somebody and say, hey, is this how it should look? They're going to be like, oh man, you got problems. I'm not so sure about that. Like Jay's wrapped up in caution tape and you're going in circles over there. I don't know. You better go talk to somebody. Because everybody's journey to God is different. Everybody's is very unique. Okay? Again, think of Scripture. All those stories are very unique and take twists and turns that they could never have anticipated to find God. Right? And you take comfort not by going to others and saying, could you explain, like a psychologist, hey, could you explain this? Look at God's creation. Look at what he built. Look at that tree right now. Now hold on to the caution tape, just hold on. Look at that tree. It grows in all different directions. It's growing down, it's growing out, it's growing up. Think of a spider's web. It goes everywhere, right? Spans an entire distance. Does it look like this caution tape? Yeah, it does. It's going everywhere. The universe is expanding in every direction. The universe that God, the Almighty Creator, is expanding right now in every direction. Just like this caution tape. Just like your journey to God. Okay? So when you look at it and you say, my life looks like this right now, be like, you know what? I'm doing it right. This is what a journey to God will look like. Okay, it goes in all different directions. It's not going to be a straight line. It's going to be all over the place. And if you say, my life is a mess, I bet you that means you're leading a spirit-led life. Right? We can drop the caution tape and I'll pick it up from you. All right? You guys are good sports. Poor Sylvia's about over here getting choked by the caution tape. Can we just leave Jay wrapped up for the rest of the service? Many of you are saying, well, I'm already on the journey. And you probably are. Okay, you've been doing this journey for a long time. The goal of this first message, and we're going to elaborate more over the next couple Sundays on this idea of finding the Spirit when we come out here to talk about it, is to understand that this is a journey to God. That's always what you want. And again, I like the Moses concept. He had to go to the top of the mountain to hear God. That's where he found him. Okay, and so there's a place in your life, if you're not hearing God, you have to get up and go. You know, Terry talked about last week, I liked it, the Holy Spirit knocks. Sometimes you're going to go and open the door and the Spirit's not there, and you're like, did somebody just knock? And that's because the Spirit just moved. And so it's compelling you to go find it, okay? That's how God leads us in life. It's Spirit-led. So I want you to understand that for this first message. I also want you to take time to prioritize this journey in your life. Because let's face it, and this is where I'm very practical, real life has a tendency to push the spiritual journey to the very bottom of the pile, okay? Because, and this is why, everything else seems like it takes priority, right? Raising a family, job, finances, relationships, all that seems, it's more pressing. It's the closest alligator to the boat. And what's nice about God is, even if you refuse the call, and you will refuse the call at some point in your life, okay? He always comes back and calls you again. He will never stop calling you, okay? And that's a wonderful aspect about him. And at some point, if he really needs you, it's like Jonah, right? He sends the whale to swallow you up and take you where he needs you to go, okay? So that's the good news, is God will continue, even if we don't prioritize this journey, he's always going to be calling. But it's sort of like that friend you have that is always calling you and saying, do you want to go do dinner? And you're always like, I can't do it. And they're so nice. They're like, that's okay. And they keep every Saturday, they're like, do you want to go to dinner? And you're like, I can't do it. And we take advantage of it, don't we? We're like, oh, they're nice. They're understanding. And we sometimes do that to God. Okay? The wonderful thing is that he forgives us and loves us so much, he'll keep calling us on this journey. And if he really needs us, he'll send the whale. But the thing is to take it from the bottom here and move it up. Move it up in presence. Every day, be like the Verizon guy. God, can you hear me? And if you're not feeling that presence, be thinking, okay, what do I need to change in my life right now so I can go and be close to him? All right? It's easy to think that all the relationships and all the journeys you're on here on earth right now are the most important thing of your life. And the reality is, none of this in the end is going to matter. And the journey to the Spirit, your journey to the Spirit, is the one journey that is going to echo in eternity. Amen.